We've already talked about how to use canes. Now it's time to discuss how to look after them once we're done using them. Hey guys, it's Morgan with BDSM Relationships and Education. Look, I'm back in the dungeon. We figured out a way that I can make it up the stairs one-legged. So I'm really happy to be back in my natural environment where I feel a lot more comfortable and I can bring you guys a whole lot of new videos. So if you haven't done so already, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I post a couple of videos a week. I think we're going to bump it down to 2 per week for the next little while, just because my life is a little crazy right now. I've got some exciting stuff that I'll tell you guys about in a future video. But anyways, don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notifications, and that way you'll know every time I post a new video. And since we're going to talk about canes today, I'm sorry, my puppy is very loud. Since we're going to be talking about canes today, if you'd like to learn more about canes and similar implements, I suggest you go and pick up my most recent book, A Guide to Classic Discipline. It's available on Amazon. So after you are done using your cane for a scene, how you clean up is really going to depend on who you are playing with. Now, if you have a regular play partner and you only play with them or you only use the canes with them, then it's not going to be that big of a deal. A little bit of sweat on the cane or natural bodily oils is not going to do any harm to the cane, so you don't have to worry about it. You can just, skip to the next step. But if you are using canes with multiple partners, or if you don't have a regular partner and there's a chance that you'll use it on different people, then I suggest just doing a quick little wipe to sanitize it. So I'm not going to show any brand names or anything, but you can use some little antibacterial or sanitizing wipes and, just give the cane a little wipe down. Now, do be aware that these are drying, and that works against canes being flexible. So you will have to make sure you do the things in the next couple of steps. But if you're just doing it occasionally and giving it a quick wipe, it's not a big deal. Alternately, you could use mild soap and water and just take a damp cloth, a cloth that you've dampened with that soap and water, and give it a little wipe as well. That would work just fine. Now, of course, if you have broken skin with the cane, there really is no way to sanitize it. Canes are, a natural material. They are porous. Even if they are sealed, you cannot clean them well enough to then go on and use them on another person. So if you break skin with a cane, what I usually do is I dedicate that cane to that particular bottom. I usually gift them the cane, and then it's only ever used on that person from this point onwards, just because it is not safe to use on other people. And of course, I'll sanitize it first, but it's still not going to be clean enough to use on other people. So when it comes to, sorry, I'm balancing on one leg, so don't mind me if I have to grab onto things. So when it comes to storing your canes, the best thing to do is to hang them up. This will keep them as straight as possible and looking good. If you cannot hang them up, you can lay them flat. Now you see I've got a couple back here and they've started to bend. And part of this is because this one actually had a natural bend in it, but part of it is because they're just on these two little points. So they're not really on a flat surface. The thing you really, really want to avoid is storing them say in a basket or something sticking up like this, because what will happen over time is they will get a bend in them. So store them either hanging or laying flat, and that is your best bet. Now, if you want to take your cane with you to a play party or something along those lines, then what you're going to want to do is you can roll them up in a towel. And if you are someone who can't have your canes out like this to show off, then this is a way you can store them as well. But roll them up in a towel and just do whatever it takes to keep them flat and straight. I usually will use either those artist tubes for our architect tubes for carrying art or big plans, or you can get even just cardboard poster tubes. Make sure the ends are sealed well, and that way you can pop the canes in there for transport or for storage. Just make sure that those are laid flat, not sitting up end to end, because then you have the same problem. Now, do be aware that there is some moisture inside of most canes. So if you, and I am talking about rattan canes here, like if we're talking about plastic canes, that's another thing entirely. But if we are talking about rattan canes, there is moisture inside of these guys. So if you seal it up with like plastic, so there's no air getting at it, they will mold. You don't want to do that. You don't want to like open it a month or two later and have moldy canes. Not a good thing. So just be aware of that. Make sure that they are completely dry before you store them, and don't store them in plastic. Now there's a couple of things you want to do to look after your canes. I'm gonna grab this one. The first is that every couple of months you may want to give them a little steam bath. So what I do is I grab my canes and I take them into the bathroom with me when I'm going to have a nice hot shower. And I crank it up and I let the steam fill the bathroom, and the canes are in there with me. And because they're made of porous material, they're going to absorb some of that moisture that's in the air. And, I'll leave them in there for a little bit. If, my boyfriend's going to also have a shower, I'll leave them in there for his shower too. I don't mean put them in the actual water. I mean like stick them near the sink or something and just let the steam get at them. So every couple of months I do that with my canes, and that is part of what helps keep them nice and flexible. Now, you'll see that I give it a little bend to show you that it's flexible, but I'm not bending it in half or anything like that. That is one of the worst things you can do for your canes, is to like really ream on them and bend them. They'll do it, but you're really, really stressing a lot of the fibers in here, so don't. The other thing you really want to avoid is just swishing them through the air for no reason. You're just going to, again, stress those fibers. You're going to cause unnecessary damage to your cane, and just don't, basically. Now, the final thing that you'll want to do every 6 months to a year, depending really on how much you use your canes and how they're treated and sealed, is you want to oil them. Now, most of mine are not sealed. If your canes are sealed, I'll talk about that in just a minute. So what I do is every 6 months to a year, depending on how often they've been used, I give them a nice wipe down with some oil. So I usually use linseed oil because that's something that I have on hand, that's easiest, it's cheap. You can use other things, you just have to make sure that it's not going to go rancid. Shea butter is like a really popular one to use. There's a few others that you can use, but the key here is make sure it's not going to go rancid. So it's just something to, help with the flexibility of the cane, once again. Now, if your canes are sealed, then what you're going to want to do is probably just every year. You really don't have to do it that often because that seal is going to keep a lot of the moisture in. But what you'll want to do is find the end, usually on the handle end, and just sand off like 1/2 inch of that sealant. And then you can stick the canes in a glass of water, and we'll put them upright, and we're only going to do it for like maybe 2 hours, so it's not going to damage the canes. But what they'll do is they'll wick some of that water up into the body of the cane, and it will help to moisturize and keep them flexible. Now you can reseal that little part that you sanded off, or you can just oil it and be done and move on. So that is a very quick version of cane care. Again, if you want to learn more about looking after your canes and caning in general, you can check out my other videos on canes, or you can check out my book, A Guide to Classic Discipline. Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate you checking out this video, and I will see you in the next one.